All right, let's get started. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I have one addition to the agenda, and it is for the North School roof bid. If I can get a second.
I move that we have a review of the North School roof bid as part of new or old business?
It's gonna be old business.
Old business, as part of the old business insurance.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're gonna put that under old business number 3, is the North School roof bid. Does anybody else have anything?
I do.
Okay. Yeah.
The library and its volunteers would like to put the buntings on the building again, the flag buntings, and have some flowers to decorate the building.
Okay. Put that under new business, I guess. Can I get a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor of adding the decoration of the town hall to the agenda, signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Okay, we're all set. Anything else? We good? All right. I have no chair remarks. We don't have any guests. Does anybody have open public comment to a non-agenda item? Seeing none. We're moving on quickly. Department and committee reports, town plan update discussion. Mr. Langeveld. Village center designation.
Not sure, because I think they sort of go hand in hand.
And Bob. Good, because you're next anyway.
Thank you. So, Village Center, as you know, there is a process underway in the village. Friends of Vernon Center has been formed, have incorporated as a nonprofit organization in Vermont. They are in the process of filing for nonprofit status with the federal government, the IRS. And all of this came out of the VCRD process last summer, where basically a consensus was formed to work on creating a village center in this general area between the school and the town offices here. In working towards that, we've outlined, and we meaning the Friends, but really this requires some approval and participation of the town, because there are grants and such that really require town participation. And so what we figured out is working backwards from the sort of the end product for now. We'd like to get to a point where we have a master plan for this village area. And this is something that we're modeling the process on what was done in Guilford with the Friends of Algiers. Friends of Algiers is a nonprofit organization. They did a master plan for that village area, which basically resulted in the development of the store there and the several housing projects that are there. It's called the Tontine building on the yellow building on the corner, and then the building behind that's brand new. So in order to get to doing a master plan, to really figure out what the town wants in this general area. We want to get to the point by September 30th to apply for a planning grant from the state. And they only have one round per year, which is September 30th deadline. So that's what's kind of driving us. If we don't make that September 30th, then we are, postponing everything for a year. In order to apply for that grant, for a planning grant to do master planning for a village center, we need to have a designated village center. Vermont has a program to designate village centers. Guilford has one, Marlborough has one, Newfane has one, lots of, I think there's actually close to 200 of the towns in Vermont have such a designation. Once you have that designation, it not only gets you in line for planning grants, but for a whole raft of other kinds of grants and financial assistance to work on the development of these village centers. Okay? So working backwards, before September 30th, we need to have village center designation. Before we can apply for village center designation, we need to have something in our town plan that says we're interested in having a village center designation. So that's what we're here for tonight, is we're kicking off this whole process by working on the adoption of an amendment to the town plan for village center. So here's the whole timeline. Pass those around. This was all in your packet, I think, that Michelle sent you this week. So we'll pass it around if you need it. But and this actually is new. In the packet, you had a map, but it was my homemade, hand-drawn map. But here is a new map, which is done by Jeff Nugent, he's the map guy at Wyndham Regional Commission. And so this is an official map that follows whatever it is the state needs to see in terms of village centers. So you see the dotted line there is the outline. This follows an outline that we figured out when we had a visit here from Richard Amore, who is the director or whatever he is of the Village Center program at the ACCD. We walked around, we figured out where the lines should be, and so this is it. They don't want to, expand this beyond kind of a core area, which in this case is defined by the school and the town office building here. And so it extends as far as the Governor Hunt House and the school and the town office building, and kind of up to the point of the triangle here. And this will accompany the application for the village center to the state.
Excuse me, Martin,
Yes.
does it go up to the railroad crossing?
Yes, the top house on this triangle is the house that's just before the railroad crossing on the east side of, it's really on the east side of 142 there. Okay? Incidentally, you see a label there which is the Village Green, and if anybody knows whether that little area has a better name than Village Green, let me know, because nobody seemed to know, so we decided to call it Village Green. If it has another name, we can put that in there. But it's where the gazebo and the war memorial are. So the amendment to the town plan basically outlines the reasons why we would like to do this, what the benefits are of having the village center designation, and, you know, what the outcomes are that we'd like to have for this process. And also included in that part of the literature is a report. And so the requirement here in the process is, and all of this pertains also to the flood resiliency amendment that we're talking about as well, is that we need to send, the town needs to send out to all the abutting towns and to the Wyndham Regional Commission the draft of the amendment and a report describing the amendment and answering certain questions about the amendment. So all of that language is here. We would then, 30 days or later after that report and amendment goes out to all the abutters and so forth, there are 2 hearings that happen. One is the planning commission hearing, one is a select board hearing. All of this is the same as when you adopt a new bylaw, when you adopt a new town plan. You know, the town has been through this kind of process, but in this case, we're really trying to move it along. So the select board hearing can be at a regular meeting of the select board. It doesn't have to be a special meeting. But in order to sort of stay on track here, and we really are ahead of track right now, you know, the 2A and 2B, we were aiming for May 26th. Well, here we are, May 16th. So we're 10 days ahead of the timeline right now. You know, we want to stay on that so that basically during July and August, or during July, we can be putting out our application for the village center designation. So I don't know that this actually even needs a motion from you, but it does need sort of your consensus that we move ahead with this process.
I have a question. It relates to something I kind of remember in my fuzzy memory from some time ago when we looked at this issue. And it seemed to me like we looked at Village Center in one of the past revs of the town plan, but there was something, and I can't remember what it was, but something we were concerned about that might in fact inhibit either some types of industrial activities, or maybe not even industrial, maybe, I think it was.
I recall.
Specifically, you do, because
You were
it's all
chair.
kind
You were
of-
chair of the planning
it
commission.
was all coming back to me.
And,
See what I mean?
See, and I was on it, and I do remember
Horrid.
because basically it was because Entergy during the dockets on discussing the final dockets that were up for public review, it came out that having a village designation could be seen as inconsistent, a village center, with an industrial activity like Vermont Yankee.
Right.
And we intentionally said, no, our village center is surrounded by industry. In fact, we have a full-scale chip plant, we've got a quarry, we have a farm, we have a hydroelectric dam,
At that time, we had the nuclear.
and we had the state's
Right.
biggest power producer. So we intentionally said, let's stay away from that, so
Right,
that we
right.
couldn't give people some ammo, as little as it might have been,
Right.
to challenge the continuation of Vermont Yankee, because that was what was up on the table.
That was the concern.
So we were concerned, but that issue has really gone away.
It's gone away. That one has.
And the designation shown here meets the state requirements and is right next to all those other industrial activities.
Well, the other thing I like too is that you've actually left alone or kind of recall the shape, but anyway, gerrymandered the thing so that, in fact, you've excluded most of the things that might, in the future be considered some sort of industrial.
Right, but it abuts them.
But is there, there's nothing that we have.
There's
then
nothing
that-
to be worried
that
about.
prevents that anyway.
Nope.
Right,
Okay.
this designation at the state level, really, it doesn't create zoning. It doesn't create any restrictions on any landowners. It's not like even, historical districts have some restrictions sometimes, depending. It doesn't have any of that. It doesn't keep you from doing whatever anybody wants to do in those areas. And it certainly doesn't have any effect on what's beyond those boundaries of the dotted line.
But we did make sure on that.
Right. The other thing I was gonna ask you about is, there are several properties here which currently are owned by Vermont Yankee, which may in the future, I guess they're the ones in gray, aren't they? Well, actually, not just in gray, some of them are, with
Yeah,
yellow
several,
spots.
several.
But at any rate, so this village center designation wouldn't have any impact on what Vermont Yankee, whoever ends up owning that, would end up doing with these pieces? Or yes?
No, it wouldn't restrict whoever owns them right now, it doesn't restrict them from selling them, it doesn't restrict them from developing them in whatever way
Right.
that they might want.
So the industrial part of it is no longer an issue?
No.
As a matter of fact, the master planning process, it wouldn't just be a map, it would be written material about why this could work. So, for instance, if the Governor Hunt House should become a part of the towns or the village center group, there could be a business activity that's linked in there. There could be employers at the Entergy property that would then come to the cafe and the town store, so that it would be developed to encourage industrial and commercial use and have employees taking advantage of the facilities. So it could be very consistent with those, other activities like.
Sure. Good. That's all that I had as a question.
And there will be a chance at public hearings to get into this, if we learn more.
Yeah, we have public hearings on the
Two
amendment.
public hearings.
And then also, once we get to the master planning, if we can get through all of these steps and get the grant, that will be a public process also with like the VCRD, with public input, brainstorming, what does the, now that we're talking about a specific area, what does the town really want to see in this area? What's in, what's out, what's good, what's not, what goes where, and that's how the planners would then develop a plan for this.
Jeff, you got any?
Just a quick question. If, within the boundaries of the center, if one of these properties became available and the town was potentially interested in purchasing it, is there any financial advantage to the town by having that property already within the village center?
It certainly doesn't hurt. I don't know the answer to the question. You have on the agenda that there's this, where is it? That there's this session in Townsend, a week from tomorrow, I think.
Oh, the
Oh,
18th.
The development in villages and
Yeah,
downtowns.
Yeah,
this
which is very germane to this question, which is, what kinds of resources are available for village center development? And so, I don't know if anybody else is here is going, but I'm gonna go to that meeting for the Friends to see, what we can learn. But we already have, we have handouts from the state that has like 4 pages of, grant programs that are out there that
So
would help
potentially
with
it
these
could
kinds
be
of things.
advantageous.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Whether it's the town looking at properties here, or whether it's the Friends of Vernon Center, which would be kind of the parallel processes happened in, within Guilford.
But such things as a municipal water system or municipal wastewater system, Friends of Algiers did that
Mhm.
with a public water supply down from Brattleboro. That did receive, state money. And I don't know how much,
Yeah, federal.
or federal money, how much village designation helped, but those are the kind of programs that I'm thinking the master plan will identify and say, hey, Vernon, you wanna have some multi-family housing there, you wanna have more school programs or year-round programs that, I think it could help.
Yeah, all right.
And one of the biggies in my mind on this is that you look at the school, the Vernon Elementary School, we're wrestling with a school budget because we have a school that's sized for 300 kids. We have barely half that count here. If you can imagine this village more densely developed with, more residents, more families, people able to just walk to school, that school becomes a more efficient operation. If it could get up to 200 or 250 kids, it'd be terrific.
Same.
All set.
Okay. I don't know what you're looking from us tonight, but it kind of seems like everybody's on the same train of thought that, it seems like something that we should probably move forward with and see how the process goes with public meetings and such. So.
Yep. So the timeline would be that somewhere, one of your July meetings, and it says on here July 18th, but it could be whatever the July 5th one is, that we would want to schedule your meeting to be a hearing, to hear from anybody and then have you approve this. But it goes hand in hand with the next item, which is the flood resiliency.
Yeah, no sooner had we finalized our 2013-14 town plan, thinking we had, 5 years or maybe 8 years now,
5 years, I think,
that the state passed another requirement. That the minimum requirements for a town plan now include a section called flood resilience planning, which I guess we all know where that came from. And the state went about making new floodway maps. We already have a flood hazard ordinance in the town. It's really our only zoning. And that basically sets conditions about building within a floodplain, having the first floor elevation above the 100-year floodplain, some flood proofing, things like that. And that's so you can get flood insurance. So similarly, the new maps take it up another step. And if a town they have to have some sort of flood resiliency planning. And if you do have a flood hazard ordinance that meets the requirements, you qualify for even more state financial aid if you do have damages from a flood. So there's an economic incentive. Basically, the flood hazard ordinance that would be developed would come later. All this is the language that they require. And there's more in there than we're gonna use. We're gonna narrow it down. But, so that, we decided since we had an urgency on the village center that we wrap the flood resiliency into this amendment. Now, as Michelle knows, and Janet, who's here from the Planning Commission, we are already in the process of amending the town plan with a municipal planning grant. And that's looking at a lot of things. So there will be another amendment within a year or so of now. So there's a lot going on. Plus, we're working on an energy planning element. Janet and I are the subcommittee for that, which gives the town some advantages, supposedly, if there's a proposed energy facility in town, which we're approaching as supporters of an energy facility in town. We think some of the other towns that are doing this are not on the same page as that, but that's okay. So, but anyway, so if anyone has questions about flood resiliency planning, I can try to answer them, but it's pretty much a cookie cutter thing that they give you.
Steve?
No, I think it's an important piece of what we have here in town to put one of these together.
Aren't you the flood hazard officer?
No,
Who
the
is?
chairman of the.
No, excuse
No,
me.
I'm not. The chairman of the planning commission is, I know that. I have memorized.
All right, okay. I shouldn't have brought it up then.
My hip boots aren't that big. But I think it's really important that we recognize that even though, we didn't have damage during Irene of any consequence, or any great consequence. I guess it was something up on Broadbrook Road, but certainly nothing like the experience further up. But we also have a very large river, at least on one side of the town, and we need to be aware that this has benefits. And for those of you who didn't see it, my understanding is that during that Irene episode, large containers of propane were going over the Vernon Dam, and some of them didn't make it intact. And so this is the kind of thing we want to avoid. It's not just the buildings; it's also what someone may have stored in these potentially flooded areas. This addresses, and it's really important, I think. So this is not putting neighbor against neighbor or anything. This is, in fact, I think, a really important aspect of what towns need to do to protect their citizens.
Joe?
I'll go on record as being against floods.
Well, you have an
Let me write that
inside,
down.
So you have that kind of connection. I just have to put up with what comes. You, on the other hand.
No, I'm against floods.
You're against it.
Gene, you have any questions?
No.
So we'll proceed with both of these. We wanted to make sure you were informed,
Appreciate that.
and
Thank you.
we'll be back.
Very good.
So thank you.
Thank you.
One other thing though on the agenda, so I'm not adding anything,
Hmm.
the use of professional services fund.
Oh, yeah.
The planning commission discussed this at our meeting last week, in that we are an intervener in the current docket on the sale of the Vermont Yankee site to North Star Services Group. There's a lot of technical questions that if you look into 1,000, what is it, 1,000
Yeah, I
pages?
just got the first set of answers to discovery questions back, and it's 1,000 pages worth of documents. I've not gone through them all. And if anybody wants to borrow the disc, you're welcome to.
But
Some of them are incredibly technical, thus far, particularly involving a rubblization issue. And we don't know what can come along in the coming months before we need to testify. So I'm sorry, Bob, I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt.
you're on. She's covering this, obviously.
But we were just concerned that if we hit an issue that we don't have enough expertise as planning commissioners, would we be able to afford to hire somebody to sort of help us through the parts of the technical process that we don't understand?
And how do we go about it? Get
Right.
permission, set a budget, because the select board did this during previous dockets.
Yeah.
We don't have a request right now, but we just want to find out.
Yeah, I think it's just a simple
And I-
request to the select board. And,
Okay, that's what we thought,
with
but
it. Yep.
And we would look into, I don't know whether it would be Skip Sansucci or who it might be, who could help us through, but maybe we'll hit you up, Steve, for some advice too, when it comes to time, when we hit an issue that we really need to understand better than we can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do have a perspective on rubblization, but I won't go into it right now.
well, we'd like to learn more about it. We don't
Yes,
really
I-
know much about it, and we'll have, I'm sure, more than enough.
Yes. Yeah,
And also, we've decided as a planning commission, we want to wait and get through the dockets and the public review periods before we take a formal position. I know the select board has expressed their support, and we think that's great. It shows the strength and support we have in town. But we're going to take a little more technical, bureaucratic approach, which I think is our job. So
Good.
that's it.
Perfect. Thank you.
And also, we're holding off on our decision on the black gum swamps. As far as a position of the planning commission, until the whole process has run its course. I see it's on your agenda, but, again, the town can have various boards with different approaches, so that's okay. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, approval of regular meeting minutes from May 2nd.
Tuesday, Martin?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the meeting minutes of May 2nd, the regular meeting held on that day.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of accepting the meeting minutes from May 2nd as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Abstain.
Good. Emergency meeting minutes from May 8th.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I move we accept the minutes for the emergency meeting of May 8th as presented.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all those in favor of accepting the meeting minutes from May 8th as written, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'm not opposed, but I abstained. I was not there.
Yes, sir. Very good. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, somewhere is my sheet. Okay. It's not often that I get the chance to read such a large number off, but I
Please
move-
explain when you're done.
Well, there's school, and more school,
Yeah, I know.
I guess is really what it amounts to. But at any rate, the following warrants are moved for approval and payment by the Select Board. 22T accounts payable in the amount of $1,851,316.40. The two payroll warrants, 18S in the amount of $9,110.19, and payroll 19S in the amount of $8,364.60. And just to, more clearly state, the large amount of the accounts payable is due to some school payments in the amounts of $1 million here and $500,000 there, and so it goes fast.
In a second.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? You know what we're talking about? All those in favor of approving warrants 22T accounts payable $1,851,316.40. Warrant 18S payroll $9,110.19. 19S payroll $8,364.60. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Warrants have been passed. Contract for law enforcement services. It is in your packet.
Yes.
There was no change to the contract year over year, with the exception of an extra amendment. So it looks exactly the same as last year with an amendment.
And the amendment is really just changing dates and amount of money.
Yeah.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I move we sign the contract for law enforcement services with the amendments.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one comment on this. This is a very large ticket item that we have currently now every year. And I, for one, and maybe there are some other people who might agree, I would like to see a little more detail in their periodic reports, the Sheriff's Department periodic reports to the Select Board as to, I would like to see something with regards to success rate. Are we doing the right kinds of things? I don't get that from what they're handing in to us now.
Correct.
And I would think it would be something they could put together based on their experience, not only in this town, but others. But I think it's important for the public to understand what they're getting for that $230,000 and what they're not getting for that $230,000.
So essentially, we're looking for, or you're looking for, an additional report, a follow-up to what was done the week prior or weeks prior?
Well, I'm
or-
looking more on a quarterly basis or
Okay.
even a semi-annual basis for the kinds of things, for instance, we had so many this number of burglaries, We were able to solve 2 of them, 4 of them are still in suspension. We were able to, I mean, that kind of detail, I think is important, because
I agree.
you know, if someone just reports a burglary and they wrote it down and that becomes part of the record, that's fine, but the end goal should be that for the money the town is spending on this process, we should be getting some results, and results, in my opinion, are catching burglars, slowing speeders and that kind of thing, reducing I have noticed some reduction in things like DUIs and that kind of thing, and that's nice, but you kind of have to grab that from what the data's presented rather than a summary. And I'm sure there's somebody in the sheriff's department could put a summary together that we then could review and put on file as having reviewed that part of the contract. It's kind of like, when they finish the roof on the North School, I mean, we're gonna get a final bill and we'll be able to see the nice roof, and
Yep.
like to see that kind of thing with the sheriff's.
We don't get to see the nice roof with the sheriffs.
Well, we might, I mean, we might see a big reduction in burglaries, and we might solve a couple cases, that would be a nice thing to do.
Yeah,
But
but
we
it'd
never
be good to
will
see it
know
in
that.
black and white.
I'd like to see that, yes.
I understand.
Okay.
And I would think that the contract is the place to see that in.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't mind, I'd be opposed to like a semi-annual thing. So I'd like to propose an amendment to the, although that doesn't work, does it? We have to actually ask them if they're willing to do it. Rather than me amending the contract, because we didn't write the contract, they did.
Yeah, we can't amend their contract.
But don't have to sign it.
We don't have to sign it, that's absolutely
Or we
correct.
could maybe ask them if they would consider that as being something that they could add.
Mm-hmm.
Since they're already giving us the numbers, the interpretation of the numbers, I think would be useful to us as select board members.
So that should be July 1st. So essentially what I think we should do is, is everybody kind of in agreement in what Steve's saying? The proofs in the pudding kind of thing from the sheriff's department at the. Okay. So, do you wanna work with Michelle, writing up some sort of
I would be happy to, yes.
amendment that they can agree to and add to our contract?
Yeah, and it would be, it would be very simple, nothing complicated, but I think that would be useful to the select board and to
Agree.
the townspeople.
So do we want to hold off on signing the contract as is at this point?
I would like to hold.
I know
until
we're
we
gonna-
get- Whether, they may refuse to do that, in which case then we'll just live with what we've got, but
Sure.
I would like to see it and we need to propose it to them.
I'll
Okay.
withdraw my motion.
Okay. So we're gonna hold tight on this at the moment, and you guys are gonna work on an amendment to get to them for
Yes.
them to
Yes. I'm
add
sure we
within our
can
contract.
come up with something.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be.
I think it should be simple and
Yeah.
and easy to do,
Yep.
but I think that it's needed.
Right, 100% agree. So we'll move on. Black Gum Swamp designation. Did we get a letter from the Rivers and Trails Committee, an official submission? I saw the draft of it because I'm on the Rivers and Trails Committee group, and I saw that the majority of them agreed to the draft, but I don't know if we want to even talk about this tonight, based on not having anything from the planning commission and based on it not having the official letter from the Rivers and Trails Committee. The basis of the Rivers and Trails Committee is that they want to stick with class 2 classification, and they don't want to move forward with class 1.
Sure.
That's the basis of their thinking.
Sure.
Seth was gonna try to be here tonight, but they have a preschool function going on, so he's not gonna make it over in time to go over that with us, I don't believe. So, tell me what everybody's thinking about this.
I don't have a problem in delaying any action on this until we have more of what we're looking for supporting information.
Yeah. Joe?
I'd wait too.
Okay.
Wait.
Everybody good? We're gonna push this off for
Josh?
a bit. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just say a couple things on that.
Yeah, come on up.
You know, the status of this is that the state, right now, the state has no proposal. You know, once the select board rescinded their approval and then went and testified, the legislative committee removed this swamp from the class 1 designations. And so basically, it's totally, completely back to square one. And we had a visit last week from Laura LaPierre, and that was purely an informational meeting. There was no proposal. Right now, there is no proposal from the state to reclassify this as class 1. And so, who knows, maybe they are not even gonna move in that direction. If they do, there will be a hearing here, and then there will be, you know, a more formal request to the town to see if they agree with that. So, you know, I would suggest that rather than taking any positions right now, that we just go back through the process. I understand what the concerns were that were raised, and without getting into any of them, I think the state will have, you know, good answers for the concerns about logging and about trails and about liability and all of that. But, you know, there is no proposal. And so right now, I think the thing is to just wait and see what comes down and move through the process once again.
Yeah, and I also think, given the information that I've received recently from members of the town regarding the Blackham Swamp, I had always, you know, and I'm not a botanist, I majored in biology, but I had always was under the impression it was a very unique, special place. And I'm told now that, gosh, a lot of people have those black gums on their property, and I don't have any myself, but maybe some will transplant, I don't know. But so it certainly changed my outlook on
Big one up.
what? Well, I don't know if that would be allowed, but maybe there's a seed somewhere. But at any rate, so I certainly changed my perspective on this. I thought that this was a really special place. It turns out because it's not such a big deal anymore. So
There are several around town, including around Lily Pond. But
yeah, as I said,
I think it's a higher concentration of them than what we have elsewhere,
Yeah.
and I think that's the kick to it.
We have so many other things that we really need to focus our attention on, and I
Tell me about it.
certainly am not gonna say much
Absolutely.
more about it.
All right. So we're gonna hold off on that for now. We're getting really good at pushing stuff off. All right.
We'll strike but when the time is right.
It's a sign
No,
of a-
absolutely,
It's a
absolutely.
sign of a successful board.
No,
Know when to fold them and know when to hold them.
everything gets done in due time. Farmland protection, the Carr property on Pond Road, next steps, which I am terribly unfamiliar with farmland protection and what next steps even mean to what we did at town meeting to them. So somebody help me.
So was I, till I called the town attorney and asked.
Yes.
So essentially what we need to do as a town is move forward to purchase the development rights for the property that the Farmland Committee identified. And the next steps of that would be to survey the property and have it mapped out so that we know what the property is. The second step is to determine what the value is in the appraisal. The Farmland Committee has already done that. So we know the two separate values of with development rights, without development rights. All of these things cost money. So I have no idea how much it costs to have a property surveyed. But in the article that was approved at town meeting, there was up to $6,000 approved for just this part of the purchase price. Is for the professional services needed. So with the select board's permission, I will go ahead and start moving this process forward and hiring the professionals we need to get the documentation we need in order to get the correct deeded rights to the property.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. The only thing I would say is make sure that the Farmland Committee stays involved through the process. I mean, this is something, if you didn't exist, they would be doing. So,
No, that's.
No.
They said the
That's
select board,
process.
they said they're done.
so the select board would.
They said it's now up to the select board, which I assume,
Well, that settles that.
You have to
so
do something.
I'll be sure to keep them apprised.
Glad you're here!
Michelle, I said, can you do it?
All right,
You can do it if you want to.
no, I'm
No, we're
good.
good.
So we got a motion, we got a second. All those in favor of moving forward for the next steps of the Farmland Protection Committee for the Carr property on Pond Road signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? One recusal. Oh, it's the most wonderful time of the year. How about a dog ordinance?
And those hybrids. Haven't known too many of those in the house. We've got a coyote that looks like a little hybrid hanging around the house.
So what you have in front of you is the VLCT model of a dog ordinance.
And then the section 4D, you wanna take out zoning permit, we don't have zoning.
Correct. Well, let's start in the beginning. Do we want to upgrade our dog ordinance? And because we currently have one.
We do, yes.
And it's a little crazy because it tells you that you need to keep your cat on a leash. Literally, your cat. Yes. And various other things that don't make any sense at all.
I got a lot of cats.
You better have a lot of leashes.
So, just what you need.
So,
Can't you just herd them?
Maybe I can get a grant.
I've heard of people herding
Oh, that
cats.
this, yeah, but some of the.
so that's in essence why we're looking at this again, is because our ordinance seems to be kind of out of date and out of touch. It's not a new ordinance, we're not doing anything that we haven't done before. We're revising what is there to make more sense. So you don't have to keep your cat on a leash.
It's also cleaner, this one.
Yes. So did everybody get a chance to kind of peek through this and see if there's anything that, like Sandy brought up in section 4 about zoning, because we don't have any.
So you would just stop it at dogs in a kennel or boarding facility?
I didn't do this, and I should have, but has anyone gone through and actually seen if there are substantive differences between what we have currently
No,
and
that's-
this?
Here's the one we had right here.
You have it
First
there?
time I've seen it in the book that's
Yeah.
down here, yeah.
Um, I mean, some of this stuff looks sensible, but, you know.
We've had a couple instances lately in town with issues with dogs, and that's what kind of spurred this above and beyond the ridiculousness of the one that we have currently.
Well, you take like the article, section 4B, we've actually had some people who have come to the select board at least a couple years ago when I was here temporarily, asking that we do something about that. And I can't blame them. I mean, you know, especially if you happen to walk on the lawn, that can be disturbing. If you don't, well then, you know, then it isn't so much, but, yeah. It does give pretty clear-cut instruction to law enforcement as to what they can do and what they can't do about dealing with problems. And the trouble with all of this is that no one thinks they have a problem until someone gets injured, and then all of a sudden they'll be here, you know, beating the door down because we didn't take action before this occurred.
We should.
That's why.
So you have health officer and sheriff deputy highlighted.
That's something you need to decide. Right now, what happens when somebody gets bit? If they go to the hospital, the health officer gets called and the health officer is required to investigate. And that's what we're doing now. The sheriff doesn't. But the sheriff often gets a phone call from the person who got bit that doesn't go to the hospital. And they are getting phone calls.
Right, and it is part of their
Yeah,
contract.
they are our
Dog
dog
officers.
control.
So I think maybe we should have the sheriff.
I mean, you can
Okay.
have both.
I think it's not a bad idea to have both, because then you've got your record right here.
Yep.
Well, and the health officer too can evaluate the health implications,
Right.
which I'm sure the sheriff's department would probably be happy to have them do that, by trying to come up with their own set of assessments.
Under 7H, pre-approved responsible owner training programs shall be set annually by the select board.
7H.
Page 30.
I think we're good.
I mean, I don't even, I know they have a program in Brattleboro at the, they're on Vernon Street, but I don't know much about it.
I don't think that
Would
we
that
need
mean
to,
that we would have to review something and promulgate that as our approved training program?
which, that can, in my mind, my thinking can just disappear completely away from this policy.
I think the reason it's in there is because some places says that if they've done something, they have to go through the training program, but
I don't wanna, I don't know, I just don't want the town to be the training program police.
right,
Your dog bit somebody, so now you have to go to the training program.
just let it go there.
Just, you paid your impoundment fees, all that kind of thing, that was your recourse, and hopefully you learn from your mistake without us having to force you to go to a training program.
So you want to take that out?
I do.
When you do
The training program's
programs,
also mentioned in F of that section too. I mean, I understand the philosophy behind it, because this makes an attempt at least not to put the dog down.
Right.
But on the flip side of it, you know, trying to get someone to go to a training program, but if they didn't want to act responsibly in the first place, it's probable that they won't be encouraged to do it with a training program, you know.
So that's gonna be, F is gonna be completely
Yeah.
on 7F. H, we're just removing the back half of it, leaving impoundment costs. And the penalties, I'm not sure how that compares to our current
It's in there,
policy, dollar wise, or, you know, what have you, but,
Impoundment fees?
yeah. Well, first offense, second offense, third offense,
The
and then
penalties,
impoundment fees.
penalties.
Here we go.
First offense was $150. Second offense is $200. Third offense is $300.
Wow,
It's $250.
that's under the existing?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Third and all subsequent, 250.
Certainly would catch your attention.
I like those numbers better.
Yeah, I do too. I do too, because
As long as they don't go over $800.
Total. Or one single incident.
That I don't know. I think it's an escalation up, so I think it's in
Total. Well, if they didn't have subsequent offenses, they wouldn't reach $800.
So are we keeping the original penalties?
I do like the original penalties over these.
No, this is only 500 that they have as an example here.
is there a date on that town ordinance that we have now?
Yes. $2006.
Okay. Well, it's not that
Terribly
old.
old.
I've seen older. Yes, I
I've
have.
seen the names go on the board.
Right.
Anything else that sticks out to y'all as you read through this?
There's the other big question to consider in section 8A. When it comes to vicious dogs, you have the choice as a select board if you want to hold hearings for vicious dog hearings for bites that occur on somebody's property. So if you're visiting someone's house and their dog bites you, if you wanna even get involved in that, or you can leave that till the end.
I don't want to. I don't need to have a hearing. I don't think. What's everybody think?
Is
Wanna
that,
have dog hearings?
is that trying to say that we decide off or on?
If you wanna go into the realm of
Property?
on the owner's property. So the dog is in control according to the rules that this sets out.
Yeah.
If the dog is on the owner's property, they're in control, whether it's on a leash or not, as long as it's on the owner's property. Or on somebody else's property with the owner's permission.
Yeah.
Now, if the dog bites somebody, do you wanna get involved, or do you wanna say, no, the dog was on the owner's property and we're not touching it?
But we would be touching if the dog is off.
Yes.
We're obligated to. We don't have a
Right,
choice.
Right.
But if it's on the property, it goes into the hands of the health officer and sheriff's department anyway, right?
Yes.
Because it's a bite. So, do we want them to handle it, or do we want to have them handle it and then us follow up with it after the fact?
Well, I suppose in that particular instance, if they handled it, but it wasn't to the satisfaction, or they felt they didn't have a solution for it, we probably would have to get involved anyway, right?
No, not really. I think at that point, then that dissatisfaction goes
It's
to,
a civil court or something.
yeah, it goes to court or goes to the sheriff's department
Okay.
and I don't know. Yeah, I think it becomes a civil matter.
I think.
I would guess that would be the case. I guess the less regulation, in my eyes, from the select board to residents is better. Let the professionals of the health officer and the sheriff's department that deal with it on a regular basis handle it, and if those folks are dissatisfied with the way the professionals do it, then they make it a civil matter between themselves.
Yes, and that's always available.
And the select board
Yeah. Because I think we
steps
can
back to
get
those
in
folks.
too far over our heads on that too.
Yep. Everybody agree? We stay out of it and let the professionals handle it?
I think this ought to be about 3 pages at most.
It probably
It's
will
gonna
be
be by
when
the
it's
time we're done
all
with
the
it.
notes are done.
Just, you take enough sections out.
Yeah.
Well, that you can't, right? Part of that. The off-premise bite.
Yeah,
Procedure
but
for
this
that
part
is
here we don't have.
required.
No, but all this
We
will
don't
be
have to-
done.
Oh, no, I know,
All that
yeah.
stuff
Yeah,
will
never.
all be on.
So-
So we'll probably get that.
Anything else that sticks out to anybody? Before we rewrite this thing and
Well, basically, like on page 5 in the middle, select board within 7 days from receipt of complaint shall investigate charges and hold a hearing on the matter. I don't wanna do that.
no, that's that goes with what we were talking about, the
Yeah.
remove.
Thanks, I mean, that's without off the property, I think that was the statutory, so.
Some of this is statutory, and I'll confirm whether the 7 days is statutory. I mean, you have to have a hearing. If someone gets bit and that they ask for a hearing, the select board is by state statute required
Oh,
to
really?
hear it.
Oh, okay, wow. So we are
Sorry.
kind of involved more in.
Well,
But most dog bites do occur on the owner's property.
Yeah.
I didn't know it's part of the job description.
Well, that's,
Sorry.
that's all well and good if somebody wants us to do it, but I don't think it needs to be part of the ordinance unless it needs to be outlined in the ordinance that that's a option for somebody. I don't wanna seek out hearings, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, on the other hand.
If somebody
if-
wants us involved, we'll get involved by statute, but I don't wanna force them to come to a hearing or seek out more hearings.
You know, it might be a good idea to eliminate it from this ordinance, but to maybe put a note somewhere that we should also evaluate state statutes for what the requirement is there.
Absolutely.
Because we wouldn't want to be in a situation where we didn't take action and we were required to by state statute. That
Mm-hmm.
gets everybody into a pickle.
But on the flip side, say Rita's dog bites me on your property,
Oh.
and I'm not a select board
That's that
member.
kind of dog.
and- I don't think she has a dog, and I don't know this. How am I gonna know that I can come to the select board?
You're never
for
gonna know.
hearing?
Nobody
Well-
ever knows.
Well,
But
I
you should have-
suspect.
You should have, in other words, people should know what their rights are.
Yeah,
Oh, I agree.
and,
with
and that's
that.
what I was saying about, putting it in there as an option, but not seeking out hearings. So
Yeah.
people know what they can pursue if they choose to pursue, but not requiring a hearing based on,
Just the
and,
zoning board.
but yeah, exactly. Based on actions.
Have there been I didn't notice in any of the reports from the sheriff's department that there were much problems with that. Has there been a lot of
There's
problems?
been a
with
couple as of late.
that? Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just off in the woods too far, I guess.
Yeah, and did the sheriff's department get involved with either of them, or was it just the health officer?
No, they did get involved.
They did get involved, okay.
Alright.
So,
Yeah.
there was two within the last couple of weeks.
Wow.
Great.
3.
Huh.
Good lord.
So, yeah. And unfortunately, our health officer was one of them when he went to go check on,
Really?
check on the status
Oh
of
my God.
one.
Oh.
I actually didn't count him in the 3.
Okay,
Just
then
for the
there's
record,
four.
that was the same dog. There's four,
Same dog,
All right.
2 hits on one person, on 2 people.
Watch out for that pooch.
Mhm. So,
So I'll check on the statutory requirements of the select board as far as the hearings go. And review
What
that
has to be in
section,
there,
what
what
you
doesn't
have
have
to
to be.
do.
I wouldn't mind
You have to do
volunteering
it.
to work with Michelle to cross compare our existing ordinance with that too, if that helps you at all.
Sure.
If, I don't wanna
I'll take all the help I can get.
Well, I had volunteered back when this other incident was brought to us to do something with that. It's when I was here temporarily on the select board, but I never really went anywhere with it because it kind of passed over. But I still have an interest in making sure that we do what we can to clean the language up in our ordinance.
Absolutely.
we will accept your volunteerism
Uh-huh.
with great joy
It's
and
on
pride.
your choice. But if you take that on, you,
This is
Bravo.
Anybody else see anything on the dog ordinance?
I'm a
Looking for something.
Nothing else that sticks out to anybody? We can take the notes that we have and do a Vernonized version.
Yes. Very good.
Alright, emergency management grant agreement, sign the document. This is the one that we've already received, right, or that we've already been awarded?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You just have to agree to the terms and accept it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that you sign the government. Just needs his signature.
Yes.
Was that a motion?
That was a motion, sir.
Okay. Alright, Motion and a second to accept and sign the emergency management grant agreement. Do we have any discussion? We do not. All those in favor of me signing the emergency management grant agreement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Next to the green sticky.
That's good. What's the date?
16.
Alright, take one down, pass it around.
Got it.
We are at our library / volunteers decoration of the building. To put the nice buntings up and flowers and such.
Mr. Chair, I move that we allow the library volunteers under June to put it, the buntings and the flowers.
Second. But I did have a question.
Go ahead, now's the time.
It seemed to me when we approved this, or something like this last year, that was there some discussion about, how shall I word this, flammability and that kind of thing?
That was dry corn and stuff.
Is that for inside only, or,
I think it's dry
Okay.
stuff outside that came
all
out.
right. Is there any concern?
Corn
about
stalks
that?
and stuff,
Corn
wasn't
stalks,
it?
that was it.
Yeah.
Corn stalk, I knew that.
Nobody's got corn stalks yet, so I'm not gonna worry about that.
Okay. And the flowers are what, live flowers, or,
Mhm.
all right, and the bunting is what, just fabric, or is it
Yeah,
plastic?
like the
or-
flag, those flag buntings
I
that
know it,
were
yeah.
up other years.
The only other thing that we talked about is liability of
Oh,
somebody,
and ladders and that
if
kind of
somebody
thing?
falls off the ladder,
ladder,
or
yeah.
falls off the stool,
All right,
or
okay.
whatever.
What did we conclude in that area?
Well,
We've
they're
got insurance and. don't
Under
worry
the
about it.
library.
What's that?
They're under the library as they're volunteers in the library.
Yeah, it'd be under the library, would be
Would they
under
be
the library's
using,
purview.
are they gonna be putting these way up or just on the lower windowsills?
Just under the windows.
Okay,
In the
so
railings.
not like
out.
way off the ground anyway.
They're not gonna be on ladders, most likely.
Not that I know.
Okay, good. Well, just
They-
just
well, they-
wondering, that's all.
No, one time we're around the gazebo. I can't remember if we did that last year.
I just
did
wanna
it-
be
I did
sure.
it last year.
Around the
The
gazebo?
year before that, the library volunteers did it.
Oh.
I just wanna make sure that we're doing.
I came in the
whatever we
dark
can
of
to be
night and
safe.
put them up. Nobody knew.
I can see you
You
out
dropped them off
there.
at your house.
Someone holding a flashlight. Oh.
Sheriff's Department, take note.
High comedy. Yes.
So, okay,
Good.
we got a motion, we got a second, any other discussion? All those in favor of letting the, library volunteers decorate the town building with buntings and flowers, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed?
Confusing.
One recusal?
I do
We
have
move on.
One question before you move on.
Sure.
What is the proposal for taking them down afterwards?
You know what, I meant to talk about that too, because the first time that they were ever done, they stayed through, like Veterans Day, cause you have Labor Day.
Yeah,
and-
right, yeah.
So, yes,
I don't have a
I meant to
problem with
say
that. I'm assuming
It's
that
good
probably
day,
someone
so
will
that-
wanna put the corn stalks back again this year, so.
I would do it.
But I mean, I suppose bunting and corn stalks is not incompatible.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Whatever. I just
they
was
got
wondering.
taken down early
Good.
last year, like,
Yeah.
I think right after the Fourth of July.
I do think it's important if they get tattered,
Oh, yeah.
that they be maintained.
Well, you know, they're actually taken home every year, washed,
Oh, really?
ironed,
Oh, wow,
mhm,
wow, okay.
and stored away.
Well, they sound like they're well cared for then.
Yeah,
Some of the flags that we've seen here on telephone poles in town, I've just felt so bad, and I just physically can't get up there
No.
myself. Good, that's wonderful news, good news.
Moving on, police inventory, you have a very long sheet of stuff that's worth very little to nothing.
Well,
So I guess what we need to decide at this point is, how do we get rid of the scrap? Do we put it out to bid?
Put it on the side of the road with a free sign.
The dumpster.
It'll be gone in a
well,
flash.
some of this may in fact be hazardous material that you can't put in the dumpster too.
Yeah,
I
maybe
would,
something-
you have to be careful with that.
I did do a little costing research like online, and there's like a couple of things that might be worth a few $100s to another police station, maybe. And I'm just guessing, cause this stuff is old.
Like the first line item on the description list is probably the most valuable out of
And that's about
everything that's here.
$200, maybe. And there's one radar gun that might be worth a few $100s. That's all I found so far. Everything else is under 50. Ugh.
I don't know, I'll bet that kryptonite lock, if you found the right Superman, you might be interested
Where's
in
that?
taking that off.
It's on there.
I need that.
I'm thinking to myself,
Last thing.
kryptonite, wait a minute.
It's new.
I'm into it.
I mean, I know that there are some police departments that can come, I could ask them if they want to come look,
Sure.
and if they wanted to offer, but to, try to run online is gonna be an incredibly time consuming and probably not very lucrative process.
Could we just have our town administrator get rid of this stuff to the best of our ability? Maybe keep the ABC code maker, for the town office, but just trust her judgment to just get this stuff taken care of.
I like that. I have theories.
Unless
I'm all
you
about
want the
I'll
purpose
just
strips.
get rid of it, it's full of spiders. I don't wanna go in the shed very much anymore.
This is gonna hit me.
Did you want a second?
No, if I could.
Yeah, okay,
it's
I'll
Second.
get a
easy
motion
that
for.
way.
Seconded.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second that we leave the contents of the shed from the old police department in the
No,
hands-
there's a shed, a safe, and the Elmhurst room. That's
shed
where
is
they
safe
are.
in the Elmhurst room
Oh.
in the hands of the town administrator to get rid of, because really none of this stuff is worth much of anything. So get what we can and be happy about it.
Yeah, she can get other police departments that want it, if they don't want it, then.
Okay.
Shotgun shells, probably don't wanna throw those in the dumpster.
No,
No.
not at all.
I promise to dispose of things responsibly. I know I can't throw away the
Well, maybe
shotgun
Mr.
shells.
McNary would like some old shotgun shells.
They're like corroded. I mean,
that's all right.
they're literally in plastic shopping bags. I didn't know what they were,
That's excellent.
or else I would have given them to him when he was.
I have some just like that. So, all right.
I'll find out how I need to get rid of
All those in favor, we don't have any other discussions. We happy with letting Michelle take care of whatever we can get rid of and whatever money we can get out of it? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It's your problem now.
And there also is, I did find a bunch of tapes, videotapes and audio tapes. We are contacting the state's, Secretary of State to figure out how or if we can dispose of those. Because I don't know what's on them and I really don't wanna know, I'm sure a lot of it, so,
Yeah.
we'll figure that part out.
We'll have to get the cassette player out and sit out on the deck this weekend.
Old school.
Alright, so that's done. Right to farm signage.
I did contact the gentleman that you asked me to for the wood signs, and he was gonna work something up, and I haven't heard anything back from him. I did email him the photos and photos from Gil, and that's where it stands right now. I don't know if you want me to continue moving forward with that, or I'm looking for direction.
Long story short is we got a bid for, cause you weren't here, got a bid for $50 a sign for little metal signs, similar to what's in Gil. That would fit underneath of our wooden signs. we decided that we were gonna give the guy that made the nice wooden signs a shot at it. We're still waiting for his bid back. I'm sure it's not gonna be $50,
Probably not.
so it kinda depends.
However, he probably will tailor them to
I'm sure they'll be fantastic.
aesthetically
Yeah.
coordinated with what he's done already.
I'm absolutely sure they'll be fantastic.
And we do want to make sure that we have an aesthetically pleasing look to the town as people drive in on either end,
Absolutely.
don't we?
So do we wanna hold off until we get this gentleman's bid?
Especially it's
Yes.
Okay. Moving on, North Schoolhouse roof bid. We received 4 bids on the North Schoolhouse roof. Now, before we get too deep into this, what is the money that we have set aside to do this? Because I don't remember from 6 months ago when this all started.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was 8,000.
I was gonna say,
I think it was 8,000 as well, but I don't wanna get us in a pickle here without knowing for sure. As much as I like a nice pickle, just don't have another one.
Well, in building repair and maintenance, there's $8,000 total.
Okay. Do we know whether any of that has been expended throughout the course of this year? Because we're at the end of our fiscal year. So I gotta imagine some of it has been spent.
Carry over for this?
Hmm?
Didn't we carry over for this?
We did, you're right, we did carry over for this.
You did, so I actually thought it would be in there as a carryover, but it's not. And I don't know the details on any of this.
We've got some details, I was not in our packet, budget details.
But
We
here's
did
the-
carry over for it.
I'm assuming, here we go, on maintenance. Repairs to building, oh, look at that, we have spent $5,700, so it's not there. I don't know where it is.
So we don't even know whether we have the funds to award a bid at this point.
And Kevin's on vacation, and bids were due. We didn't open up to yesterday, so I don't know.
Can we find out from Cindy how much money is left in that fund and see if we can even fund this project?
Yep.
Then maybe we can do a,
I should have checked that before.
contingent thing.
yeah,
I thought there'd be a line item
Contingent
for
upon
it.
having the money, we'd like to go ahead and get the roofing.
Yeah.
Well, it was
I think that's
clear.
I like that.
I know it was described as leaking and that there was damage to some of the rafters, which really worried me. And that was the last that I remember of the description from that.
I've been in there a handful of times, but I don't
Yeah.
really,
So, I mean, I don't, letting
I didn't crawl around
like
the
that
back.
can lead you down a bad pathway.
So let's take a look at the bids, and if we wanna make a decision on who we'd like to give the work to, we will make the motion contingent on the funding being in this fiscal year. Make sense?
Yes.
Because for some reason I think we have it, where it is, I don't
That
know,
was $8,000.
but I swear we have it somewhere set aside specifically for this. So,
Well, if it's 8, then narrows it down a little bit.
absolutely.
No, I know, but I remember them carrying it over.
It doesn't show on the
That's
budget
where I was going.
It doesn't show on the budget sheet.
In my mind.
Did you have your budget sheets,
Local.
right?
I can run up and look at the minutes from, I think that was June or July. Want me to go check?
It was in June or July. She said she'd look at the minutes. from June, July to see, we can just do the contingent.
Yeah, let's just do the contingent deal. And I believe $8,000 is correct, which puts 2 bids within our price range. And that would be Steve Giro and the one from New York that I can't pronounce.
Indoor Air Technologies.
Indoor Air Technologies, and they have a fancy acronym to it. What's everybody think?
I will state that given what the bid looked like, and contingent upon whether these people have any problems, I would award it to the lowest bidder. I mean, it's just a roof replacement.
Okay.
That would be my recommendation at this point. Now, if we find out in looking at, we don't have any information on these folks, but imagine a few phone calls might give us
That specific bid did list about 6 different references.
right? Which I'm
around
impressed with. yeah.
Amherst, Mass area, and a
Yeah.
few other places.
But, after all, this is savings, and it can be put somewhere else,
Mm-hmm. Jeff?
Well, I'd like to support local, even though it's a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably say the $8,000 bid
What's your roofing?
is local.
Steve Giro. Okay. Sandy?
I like to support local too.
Gene?
Well, that's the one.
Okay. And I will agree with that, and the only reason that I'm gonna agree with that, cause typically I'm all about the low bid like you're talking about. But being in the industry for a short amount of time, it worries me that, the guy's 5 hours away, and if we have an immediate issue,
Yeah.
the first
That's
time it
certainly,
snows
yeah.
and we find leakage in the building, and
Sure.
do we get them to drive 5 hours back to do a repair?
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
That's
can be kind of
certainly
a
a
crapshoot.
consideration, yes.
So, I would feel more comfortable dealing with a local person that we could say, hey, something's wrong. Or, if there's a shingle defect or something like that, that didn't have anything to do with him, it's a manufacturer issue, then you're not trying to work with somebody 5 hours away
No, I
to get their supplier
that
to,
is true.
to fix the issue for us.
Mhm.
So, that's where my head is. So, somebody wanna make a motion with our contingency?
Mr. Chair, I move that we go with Steve Giroux from Brattleboro, Vermont for $8,000 contingent upon us having the money carried over for that.
Second.
Moving to second, any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of awarding Steve Giroux, the North School roof bid, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay. Well, I mean, I have to stand by my principles. I don't even know Steve Giroux.
I
so-
very much appreciate you standing by your principles. I do the same thing on a regular basis. So, public participation, agenda items only, please. Seeing none, we move on to correspondence.
Letters, we get letters. Lots of
Well, in addition to what you have in your packets, there was a lot of comments on the FERC relicensing of the dam. No new developments from the relicensing piece though. And if you want any of that printed out, a lot of that is multiple pages. So I'll be happy to do that, just let me know. Entergy did file an amendment to their certificate of public good with the Public Service Board. That is requesting the size of the protected area around the site of the storage pods, whatever they're called there, go from 10.5 acres to 1.3 acres. And they've applied for that with the NRC too, so it would encompass the pad and the security building, essentially. So that is, and I have that request for that amendment here if anybody's interested in going over that. So that was.
That came from whom?
Entergy.
This is
That came from
Entergy
Entergy, okay.
filed that.
I would like to read that later, but I imagine they must have some justification, but that is quite a shrinkage.
There's even plans and.
The only thing I worry about with something like that is, whatever they do, the dose from those canisters is not gonna go away just because they shrink the footprint, you know what I'm saying? And, so I'm sure it's explained in there, and I would like to.
It does mention that they've requested the approval from the NRC too.
Right,
So they haven't
right.
gotten that yet.
Right,
So, so happy to hand this over to you.
yeah, I'll pick it up after.
Okay.
Thank you.
So those were the biggies that came into the office. And that's it for correspondence.
Okay. Meeting, have anything? Brattleboro Television? No? Town Administrator report.
Okay, a couple of things. We have completed the upgrade of 4 computers in the town office. Trying to stagger those as much as possible. We probably have enough money in the upgrade fund to do one more. But then we're back to every computer needs to be replaced all at the same time. So trying to hold back. And we do have a request from the lister's office for a Surface Pro instead of upgrading their desktop. So working with the computer guy to see what the feasibility of doing that is. Apparently with the reappraisals coming up, it's easier to take the tablets out and take photos, and it downloads directly to Nemrick. So we're working on the feasibility of that. Tim is also working on upgrading in the town clerk's office to move forward with the record restoration and digitization of our land records. There's 3 books left to do. He has decided to go with Nemrick, who will do it for about $1,000. And what it will also do is, as the next books start, Tim will be able to do it himself, and they'll be able to do it in the office themselves rather than contracting out with another company to do it. And that will require some upgrades with the public computer in the town clerk's office. But all of that will also come out of the restoration fund that's already established, and that funding comes from every time someone requests land records, that money goes straight into that restoration fund. So there's really not a direct tax cost with any of that. And so that's moving forward.
He was talking to me about his computer as well. Is that getting some form of Adobe on it? Is that?
His computer was one of the one that went forward. Got a brand new computer and he's great.
Yeah, I told him, I said, you're looking at buying an expensive piece of software. Why don't we just look at a whole new computer?
Oh, he just wanted to update Adobe.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. You got a new computer.
That was as of Einer's retirement party, and he was talking to me, so. Okay, good. He's got a new computer and it does everything he needs to do? Perfect.
He hasn't mentioned anything to me
Okay.
about it not. Okay, so, I need a signature on the letter you requested at the emergency meeting for our financial advisor. And I did get a sign off on everybody for that. And, along those notes, right now, our investment funds are all, not all, most of them are in paper certificate form. Some of these were issued in 1957. So, we have received
There's no line
correspondence.
for me.
What's that?
There's a line for Gordon, but there's no line.
There's
for
no
me.
line for you.
Can't you
but you're
sign the
signing the letter.
Oh. I'm getting tired.
I'll talk fast. Okay. It even has a, I'm gonna change the color of the sticky or something.
Colorblind.
So anyways, we received correspondence from one of our fund holders, which is American Funds, and they've requested to Cindy that they digitize all those certificates.
At
So
their
there's-
expense, right?
What's that?
At their expense?
Yes, this won't cost us anything, but it takes away the risk of us losing the paper certificates. Now they've actually requested sent envelopes, this is how you do it, send them back. So along that same vein, Gordon from Edward Jones had said, you know what, we can get all of your certificates digitized, so then there's no, there'll be electronic certificates, they're kept at the bank, then there's no risk of losing them ever And, Cindy, the treasurer, is looking for your permission to go ahead and begin that process. Cause
I
it
don't
does
think
say
we really-
treasurer and select
Yeah, I
board
don't think
makes
it-
all decisions.
I don't think we really need a motion, we just need a consensus. Is
Yes,
everybody
that's
okay with
right.
that?
You have my consensus.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, she
support
might
that.
feel better with a
A
motion
motion, all right.
on that, because it does say in the investment policy, treasurer and select board. And I think,
Yeah.
I'd like to see us keep a paper copy of the digitized though,
absolutely.
because banks have been known to lose things.
Sure. I move that we authorize the town treasurer to go ahead and digitize all the certificates that she deems appropriate in this effort. And further, that we retain a hard copy for the vault of storage.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor of digitizing our investment certificates, please signify by saying that. Aye. Those opposed? Okay.
Oh, goodness.
Anything else?
Really?
We're done?
I know.
Okay. Upcoming meetings, number one, Economic Development in Villages and Downtown Workshop. That is this Thursday, 7 PM at the Townsend Town Offices. Handicap and NRC, Thursday, May 25th, 6 to 9 at BAM's All-Purpose Room. And our regular meeting will be Tuesday, June 6th at 6:30. We are adjourned.